Welcome to Wise Move, where we dive into real estate, real life, and real wisdom. I'm your host, Meredith Buckland, a top realtor in the greater Atlanta area with over 12 years of experience. I have had the privilege to help hundreds of clients navigate their moves successfully, while gaining a wealth of wisdom along the way. As Einstein said, wisdom is not a product of schooling, but of the lifelong attempt to acquire it. So join me as I connect with clients, colleagues, and industry experts to discuss market trends, share valuable advice, along with real-life stories that can help make every move a wise move. Welcome to Wise Move. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to someone I trust with my own clients, David Gray from CrossCountry Mortgage. And he's been helping people navigate the home financing journey for over 12 years. And I guess the past 3.5 years, you've been doing it with CrossCountry. And beyond the numbers, though, David is a husband, a dad to 4 busy kids, and a big believer in helping people make smart financial decisions. So, David, welcome to Wise Move.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this is great. We often are on the phone, so this is a new experience for us to do a podcast together. But let's start at the beginning. I would love to know how you first got into the mortgage business. And was it something you always saw yourself doing, or did you find your way here another route?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I wanted to be an NBA basketball player. That was my dream. So growing up, I didn't have any other aspirations. I wanted to play basketball. So no, mortgages were nothing that I had thought of at all. I graduated with a marketing degree from college and moved into just an entry-level customer service, answer phones for a manufacturing company. And a friend of mine was in the mortgage industry, and he was doing well. He kind of worked his way into management, and he was like, "I think you would do really well doing mortgages." And he had mentioned it to me, I don't know, a few times over, let's say, a couple year period or maybe a year period. But, married, had a baby at the time, and then my wife got pregnant with twins. So then we went from no kids to 3 kids in under 2 years. And I'm like, I can't do a job change, So I did a job change with a 2-year-old and 2 2-month-olds. Went over to work for the mortgage company, but when you work for what's called a non-depository institution. So if you do mortgages not at a bank, you have to get licensed, you have to pass a test, you have to go through tons of training. So probably like the worst time of my life to actually do something like that, because you're not sleeping, you're just nothing but craziness at home. Just felt like the time was right to do it anyways. So yeah, because of a friend who had just really wanted me to try out this the mortgage industry, I gave it a shot. But what I really loved about it was, and there's nothing wrong with, you work for a manufacturing company or whatever, I just really loved the potential to be able to help, whether it's refinance someone's mortgage to help them save money, or maybe get some cash to do some home improvements or whatever it is, or you help them navigate the home buying process, as we know is not something that's a very easy process. Just being able to help people was something that was it was something that really kind of spoke to me. So I was like, let's give this a try. And 12 and a half years later, I love it. I don't see myself doing anything else. So that's how I got into the industry.
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing journey and transition. And on top of all the added family dynamics,
Yeah,
I'm sure that made it even more exciting. But you're with CrossCountry Mortgage now, and what drew you to them, and how has that shaped the way you help clients?
Yeah, so in our industry, as you know too, there's options. I feel like they're endless. Whether you work for a real estate company, whether you work for a mortgage company, there are many of them out there. Many of them are very, very good. My previous employer, great company, nothing bad to say about them whatsoever. But, you look at what you're doing and you look at, okay, at the end of the day, I help clients navigate the mortgage process. The more, I call it tools in my tool belt. The more tools in my tool belt to be able to help my clients, the better off. CrossCountry Mortgage just had a ton of products, loan products. A big one was, for me, They have we have our own in-house construction. So we could literally from the ground up do a new home construction build. This was, 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, interest rates started to go up and up and up and up. And we also were getting into that period of time. This was right after COVID, where just the housing industry, there's just not enough homes available. So what other programs can I add to my tool belt to be able to help my clients? So they just had at the time, looking at it, CrossCountry just had a lot more loan programs. I knew a number of people who had worked there, totally vetted out the company, just from top-down leadership. Just a great company, closed loans quickly. So just felt like it was the right move, and it absolutely was. I was at my previous employer for over 9 years. So when you're looking at doing that, and you have an active pipeline, and it's never an easy thing to change a company. I feel like my whole world is like on my computer and on my phone, and I'm working with my clients, and now I have to how do you close everything out yet go to the other company while you can still maintain your pipeline and all that. But it was a very smooth transition, and it worked out well, and I'm very, very happy here at CrossCountry.
Yeah, and you've definitely been instrumental in my business as well, which I want to touch on in a moment. But so we talked a little bit about your family dynamics, and I want to come back to that. You have 4 kids,
Yep.
Avery, Zachary, Kinsley, and Wesley, married over 16 years or almost.
Almost. September will be 16, Yep.
I'm pushing you forward in life here, but you're getting close.
We'll be here before we know it.
I'm reminding you, don't
Yes.
forget about your anniversary.
September 26th, don't
coming up.
forget. Yeah.
Put that calendar alert on. But so tell me what a typical Saturday is like in your house.
It's very rarely ever just sitting around the house. So our kids are very active. They play sports. 3 are in travel hockey, which is very busy. And then our 4th, who doesn't play hockey, she is in club volleyball. She also does swimming. So our August to September, right now we're gearing up for hockey seasons. We're at a hockey rink quite often. So yeah, and in the summer, my boys play baseball. Our kids do swim team. It's not as busy as the fall and the winter, but yeah, we're on the go. We're at a ball field. We're at a hockey rink. We're driving our kids around. We're very active, very busy, but they love it. We love it. It's our social life. It's their social life. Yeah, so it's very busy.
Yeah, and I know I have called you many times on a weekend and been like, hey, David, I need some help. And you're in the middle of that, and you're still stopping to quickly get me my information. So juggling that schedule, you've become an expert really at time management. And I know something that has definitely helped you in the mortgage world, because your job isn't, as a lender, always just cut and dry Monday through Friday. There's oftentimes you're getting calls from agents like myself saying, hey, I have a client that needs a pre-approval. We found a home. We need to go out now. It's Saturday. It's Sunday. You've got your family dynamics. So just all of that has been really instrumental in shaping your ability to meet the needs of your family, meet the needs of your business. And I'm sure that's been an adjustment at times for you.
It has been, yeah. And there's been times too, you have to have the right balance, right? That's the word. And if you don't have a right balance, your either family suffers or your work suffers. And I certainly don't bat 1,000 in that area, but you have to have certain safeguards in place. This thing right here is a blessing, but it's also a curse. One of the things actually true with CrossCountry that I should have also mentioned was I need the flexibility to be able to work remotely. I'm on the go. This job is on the go. I always say real estate never sleeps. I can't be tied to an office from, say, 9 to 5, but then not have the ability to be able to help clients before 9 or after 5 on the weekends. And that was, the one guy I talked to said, you can originate loans on Mars. We don't care. As long as you're doing your job, we don't care. And it's truly has been that way. So, yes, I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I'm very busy. Thank God I have a very, very understanding wife. She knows that if I need to peel away for 20 or 30 minutes to do something, then I have to do that. But it's nice because I'm not just sitting in an office for 40, 50 hours a week. I work remotely a lot because basically I'm able to like implement my work into my family life too, and it just kind of balances each other out. So I have a very understanding wife, I have very understanding kids. For the most part, my 8-year-old did just ask me this weekend when I was working Saturday. He came upstairs to my office and he goes, "Hey, Dad, are you going to retire soon?" And I just had to laugh. I looked at him and I said, "I don't know if I'm ever going to retire with because of you kids, but
I know.
yeah." So
Yeah.
it's thankfully too, you are awesome. The realtor partners that I work with, for the most part, they understand that, hey, David's on the go, he's got things going on, but text me, call me. I might not be able to like pick up that second and like pre-approve someone like that very minute, but I can do it and absolutely can do it very, very quickly, which is great. So it's a crazy dynamic, but yeah, you just have to have proper safeguards in place too. Like if I'm at home and we're eating dinner as a family, like I'm not going to run away, but in the next hour, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, sure, I'll go and take time to answer a question, pre-approve someone. You can't be completely married to your phone where you're missing out on everything else that's going on in life either.
No, and I greatly appreciated that, though, about you. I can always, with confidence, tell my clients, listen, we can get a hold of David as we need him and respectfully. But it's if we're on the weekends, I don't have to say, hey, I don't know if your lender's going to pick up the phone until Monday morning at 9, but I know David will, and I can get on and we can really make a good offer on this property confidently because he's right there with us. So tag teaming like that, and of course agents like myself who also were kind of 24/7 at times. It feels like that, vacations and
Oh,
holidays,
yeah.
and business doesn't stop. But you have to balance it. You have to balance that vacation and that holiday and in all the appropriate times, but still being available. So that's one thing I have greatly appreciated about you and your time management. And with a young family, that's all been important in my business as well, to have a partner like that. But
And
I
something I
wanted
can
to,
also say
oh,
to
go
that, I'm
ahead.
sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
I I I don't want to say I'm a control freak, but especially when it comes to the upfront, the pre-approval, answering the money questions. How much, if I buy this home for $350,000, how much money am I going to need for closing? What's my monthly payment going to be? Like that's where I am a control freak. Like the numbers, making sure that pre-approval letter is good, that you're all set. That's where I'm at. Once their loan gets into processing and gets into underwriting, I'm still there. I'm still reviewing it. But I can't do everything that I'm doing either without a strong processing team as well.
Right.
I have a couple assistants that help out with a lot of that too. So that's been huge as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate your team is always very responsive. So I value that. I wanted to talk, though, David, and we've talked personally, but I wanted to talk with you today even about the interest rates. That's been such a big topic, and it will continue to be, I'm sure. From your perspective, though, what should the buyer be thinking about beyond just what's the rate?
yeah, that's a great question. Because that's the market we're in right now. Every call with every buyer, without a doubt, it's always rate, it's always payment, and it always should be. But because rates are higher than they were 4 or 5 years ago, coupled with the rise of the cost of homes as well, affordability it's tough. Buying even just a starter home, right, is very expensive. So it's a very difficult time to be able to navigate. So we look at every avenue that we possibly can. We look at, okay, what's your interest rate going to be? This is that range where they're coming in at. Can we possibly buy down that interest rate? Could we possibly get creative and maybe we can get some seller credit? Can we use that seller credit to maybe help buy down that rate? You could do a permanent buy down, which is just at the end of at closing, you're buying on that lower rate. You have that rate for that 30-year period. You could also do a temporary buy down. A temporary buy down buys down the rate for a temporary period of time. 1 year, 2 year, you could do up to 3 years where you're buying a lower rate for a period of time. And then after that period is over, it would go back to that higher rate. for the remainder of that loan. It's not an adjustable rate. It's just a lower rate for a couple year period. I think it's important too when people are looking at different areas, different cities, different counties have different tax percentages. That's not something that I would do a ton before, but now I do, where let's look and see what are the property taxes looking like. Because when we're looking at a monthly payment, yes, you have your principal and interest, but you have your homeowner's insurance, you have your property taxes. If you don't put down 20%, then you're going to have your mortgage insurance as well. What are things that we can do to maybe try to help lower that payment? Taxes are also a big factor. And that's something too that we look at before someone even goes out to look at a house. Hey, David, reach out to me. Let me know here's the address. Can you pull what a payment's going to look like? And I'll go ahead and pull the taxes from the county website. And that way the buyer knows, okay, my payment's going to be right around this amount. Can we even afford that before we even waste time to go look at the home and get our hopes up and then we can't afford it?
I think doing that homework ahead of time is so crucial. And a lot of times my clients will call and, hey, we're thinking about this. They haven't talked to a lender. They've done maybe a mortgage calculator or something. But often I will try to get them quickly linked to you and to say, hey, David, I know you're going to go into the deep dive with them and make them feel comfortable. And that does include what are the taxes. So I'll send you the address. You'll be able to quickly pull up an assessment of that. We can tell, did that have a homestead exemption? Did it not? Is this what they can expect? Are there HOA fees? And then also diving into what loans they qualify for, what that rate looks like. So all of that homework and groundwork is so helpful, because then when we go out, I'm also saying to you, David, at times, give me $10,000, $25,000 up increments. So if we get out there and we see a home that looks, wow, this one's in really good condition, the mechanics are updated, and it's $10,000, $20,000 more, what does that mean in terms of the monthly? Because that sounds huge, but then when you break it down, it's actually not. And so all of that has been so instrumental. So you and I tag team quite a bit within that. And as far as the rates, it has been interesting. I had a client that just recently did a new construction, and they went with the lender that was for that new construction. And it was quite a journey, not one that I enjoyed at all, but they throw out incentives. And so they walked that path. But ironically, the first price point and interest rate, the interest rate was different. It was a little higher. The loan number was a little lower. And then that all shifted. And ironically, at the end of it, even though they had a higher sales price and a slightly different interest rate number, they were paying basically the same or almost the same or slightly. So it didn't, you get into it and you can get confused easily and hung up over the numbers, and you really need to do the homework and see how it plays out.
Well, and when you send me, and any buyer I talk to, when we have just an intro phone call, we need to get the buyer pre-approved. I always start out my phone calls with the budget. What's your monthly budget? What can you afford? And from that, we'll work back to your purchase price. Because those two need to jive. If they don't, we need to adjust something. And more than likely, we can't adjust our payment because our payment is what we can afford. So now we're going to maybe have to adjust our purchase price to be a little bit lower than what we wanted. Because at the end of the day, you have to be able to make that payment for the next 30 years. That's a very long time. Now, granted, are you going to be in that loan and in that home for 30 years? More than likely not. But you have to be able to make that payment. So I always like to just ask the question, how much are you paying now in rent? More than what's your mortgage payment? All right, are we trying to stay around that amount? Can you go a little higher? What's your budget amount? And then from there, we'll take that monthly payment and we'll work the numbers to see how much you can get approved for. Because sometimes the purchase price amount they want and the monthly payment they want don't equal. And we've got to figure out how to get those to work.
Yeah. And within that, what common misconceptions are you seeing at times from people when they start this mortgage process?
First-time home buyers, a lot of times, are especially right now in the current environment we're in, are expecting a lower payment with a higher purchase price. A big reason why too is if you go on Zillow, I know especially if you go on and you look at the listing, they'll give you like an estimated mortgage payment, but that estimated mortgage payment is always with 20% down. So and not everyone has 20%. Especially a lot of first-time home buyers, they only have a 3% or a 5% down payment. You're borrowing, let's say 15% more. So you're borrowing a whole lot more. So your principal and interest will be higher, but then you also have mortgage insurance. So they'll go on Zillow, they see it's a $400,000 home, they see a $2,800 mortgage payment, and they're like, oh, I could afford that. And I'm like, okay, but the problem is that payment's going to be $3,300 or whatever it is. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. So it's just not understanding the numbers fully. You can go on the internet, you can do your research, you can try to get a lot of different things. You can get a mortgage calculator and do things, and they're helpful, but it's not going to be the same as working with someone like myself who's going to really get down to the weeds and we're really down to the penny about how much it's going to cost.
And what they actually qualify for and
Right.
can get approved for. Because you're just running a Google search or just trying to feel like you've got this self-knowledge. There's so many things that you know that we don't know and can really shape the way you enter into a mortgage. Maybe they qualify for something more because of their service, and whether it's military or teacher, or maybe there's a special program for a new home buyer, or different things that aren't real clearly stated, and you're able to go and say, let's look at this. But for first-time buyers especially, what are areas that you would recommend that they can do right now, even before they start house hunting, that will set them up for success?
It's a really good question. So I think our education system does a horrible job of teaching our youth. I think high schools and colleges need to have courses on just basic how taxes work, how to file taxes, how does credit work? Is a credit card a bad thing? All of, like just normal basic things, even just a simple mortgage process and what do companies look for? We don't teach that in our schools at all. So that's a great question, because a lot of people come to me, especially like you said, first-time home buyers. Okay, I want to buy a house. All right, great. Let's talk a little bit about that. I'm like, well, I don't have any credit. I've paid everything cash my whole life. I just use my debit card. Credit cards scare me, and that's fine. Let me say this very clearly. You can buy a home without a credit score. Very, very, very hard. It's not an easy process, and let me also say this: it 100% will cost you more money. Your interest rate will be higher. Your closing costs will be higher. So, number one thing, you need to have a credit score. Credit cards are not bad as long as you use them the proper way. A car isn't bad if you use it the right way. A cell phone isn't bad if you use it the right way. You just have to know how to use it. So, I would say make sure you have a credit card, or you need to be able to have a credit score. So if you have a car payment, and actually something to help with those sorts of things to get a credit score, you could be added as an authorized user on a credit card. That's definitely something I will be doing for my kids as they get a little bit older. I will add them as an authorized user on my credit card to start building some credit. So I think that that's a huge thing. You can open up a secure credit card where you actually put the money up front. $200, $250, whatever it is. Open up a very, very small credit card. Put $20 or $30 a month on it. Maybe $50 tank of gas, something like that. Pay it off, and just do that every month. Start building your credit scores, because if you don't have a credit score, it's going to be very hard to buy a house. Something else is obviously the more money you have, the better. I understand, especially with inflation, it's very difficult to save right now. Anything that you possibly can do to save up as much as you can is a big deal. Minimum 3% for a purchase. There are some down payment assistance programs and things, but it's really good to. And by the way, minimum down payment would mean that's just the bare minimum to get in the home. But I also don't want to put you into a home with $10 in your checking account, because what if the furnace goes? What if there's a leak in your roof? Like, there's a lot of things where you're a homeowner now. You need to be able to pay for some things that might come up that you need to be able to do. And if you don't have the money for it, What are you going to do? Put it on a credit card? And that's when you start to get into financial problems because you start paying for things with money that you don't have.
Yeah, no, those areas I think are so unknown sometimes. We start out with we don't want our kids to have any debt and we shield them from that, but also not realizing then as they step into the pre-approval process how much more it's going to cost them. So there's taking some wise moves in that.
Even if you want to get a car, and you want to get a car note, a lot of times, you're in college or you're just out of college, your parent has to co-sign for you because you don't have a credit score. You go to the car dealership, they run your credit, you don't have any. You maybe are working part-time somewhere where they might give you a loan, but it's going to be a very high interest rate. Just doing some simple things, having a credit score is very, very helpful. I'm a big proponent of that.
Yeah. And David, that has been one of the reasons I do respect your work, and working with you has been your education process with that first-time buyer. Especially because there's so many things they don't, what they don't know that they don't know. And right. I'm not licensed as a lender, so I cannot speak to all of those areas, but I do know enough to say, hey, I also want my buyer to be in the best hands and someone that resonates with my same values of education and ethics and just understanding good customer service. So you're the first introduction that I'll hand them to, and I give them maybe a couple of other suggestions and names, but I'll say, hey, I know I have had great success with this lender. He will be there available to answer your calls and questions because they will come up, and really make you an educated buyer so that next time you go to sell and buy again, you're going to likely call David because he's done a great job, but you're also going to feel confident that you've been well set up for that next move. And then being a problem solver has also impacted your ability, I think, to really understand your field. You understand your field very well, which is important, because there have been times that we have been in a situation where I've been told one thing from another lender, or they've heard something from another lender, and I will contact you and say, David, here's the situation. Is there a possibility for this? And you're able to dive into that and look at the file and figure out, and how do you help sort through some of those options? Because sometimes it's a loan type, and other times it's a strategy within that. But what have you found that's worked best for you, and how to guide your clients?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There's a number of loan programs that are available, but I do say that not every lender is created equal. Not every loan officer is created equal. I know a lot more than a lot, and I don't know nearly as much as many others. My experience has certainly helped. I was a team lead. I was a team manager. I had numerous loan officers underneath me for a number of years. With that comes just a myriad of situations and scenarios and problem solving and, hey, I've got this. Hey, I've got this. And, I know the guidelines fairly well for all the different loans that we have. I certainly don't know all of them, but when a situation or a problem arises and we have to look at it, it's like, okay, what's the problem and what can we do to fix this problem within the parameters that the guidelines state, along with the qualifications for this particular, client? How do we get them to mesh? Because a lot of times they don't mesh. A lot of times maybe they won't be approved for one loan program. They might be able to get approved for the other. Maybe some things come up along the way, and now we might have to pivot. But we also have a closing date that we have to meet. How do we navigate that? We don't love this, but these things happen. Someone maybe bought a new car while we're closing, and whether we tell them not to open up any new lines of credit or not, sometimes they do, and I didn't think it'd be a problem. I need a new car. Okay, well, that does drastically change what we're able to get you approved for. This might hinder some things. So it's just knowing how to go about doing that. My history and background has certainly helped. But I also know, so like CrossCountry Mortgage, where I work, we underwrite directly to Fannie Mae, to Freddie Mac, to the FHA, to the VA. So they give us their guidelines, we underwrite to them. Other lenders have their own overlays that will be, okay, these are the rules from the investors here, but in order to close with us, we need you to have a little bit higher of a standard. We don't have that. We underwrite to whatever they want. And that has helped as well, because some other lenders, maybe they'll say you can't go lower than a 620 credit score, where you actually can for some loan programs, and we'll do it. So that also helps, just because we don't have any of those additional overlays to be able to help that. But we've certainly had our crazy situations. People change jobs in between, and you're like, what are you doing? We can't do that. So you just have to pivot. You have to navigate. You have to figure out how to make it work. And I would say, thankfully, 99% probably of the time we do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you and I have been in multiple situations, as long as we've worked together, where there were moments of job changes or a purchase or last minute creativity with some form in there. So that kind of brings me back to the concept too of, in your line, and you work with many agents, how important is that realtor-lender relationship and being in sync? How have you seen that?
It's huge. It's everything. Having a realtor, so the realtor and the lender, you need to be partners. Yes, we might work for different companies. As a lender, I am on Meredith Buckland's team. I am your teammate. More often than not, your clients come to you to buy a home. They don't have a lender. You're going to give them to a couple of your lender partners. They'll interview the lender partners to see who's going to be the best fit. We are an extension of Meredith Buckland Realty. And if we're not in partnership, if we're not in sync, if we're not working together every step of the way till closing, the buyer is going to sense that. The buyer is going to feel that. And it's not going to be a good experience. It might not get to the finish line because of it, right? If you and I are butting heads and we're not working together and we're not aligned, the buyer is going to be like, what's going on here? Is this even going to close? What's going on? And it's no different than any working relationship. Like, I'm huge into sports. I love sports. If the team unit on an ice rink or on a basketball court or whatever, if they're not aligned and working well together, communicating well together, the end result is not going to be a win. And we might be able to get to the finish line and we might be able to close, but if it's not a cohesive group and a cohesive unit working well together, in my mind, it's not a win. A win is obviously, yes, it's closing, but it's also closing with a really good customer experience. So having that relationship, to me, is huge. It's everything, honestly.
Yeah. And getting your buyers or clients to understand, like, there's no benefit personally, financially to that agent, for working with that lender. I'm not getting any kickback. But what I am getting is peace of mind, because when I say to them, I have vetted this lender, I have successfully closed multiple times with this lender. And why is that important? Because in a competitive bid strategy, even if I can sell the lender to that other agent with confidence that I've worked with them, I've seen them close, let me get them on the phone with you. And then they will give you reassurance of the strength of this buyer. And then as we're making a competitive offer, hey, David, can we go up by this much? What if we tweak it this way? And writing a competitive offer, and then strategizing even through the due diligence time period of, hey, we now maybe need to negotiate more concessions.
Yep.
How many more concessions can we use? How can that be creative? So that when we get to the end, and I'm writing even a strategy of, how fast can we close, David? How fast can we do the appraisal? Can we waive it confidently? Can you get with that buyer? And so there's so many of those moments where we're back and forth and we're in sync, and that gives that buyer an edge that in the markets have stood out. And there have been times that we have won together that bid for our client because you got on the phone with the agent and you've helped convince them of the strength of the buyer, and all of that has worked together to the advantage of that client.
Yeah, and the communication, like if you just have a pre-approval letter from any random loan company, and you could go out and get pre-approved online very quickly and not even talk to a loan officer, right?
Yeah.
If you have that pre-approval letter from ABC Mortgage Company that's in Chicago, with some random loan officer. You don't even know you've never met this person. You just
Right.
have a name on a piece of paper, and you submit that offer in a competitive market to, the seller's agent. Like, how are you going to win? They're
Right.
going to be like, who is this person? We don't know them. But if you send in that offer, say, this is with one of my trusted partners. We've done dozens of closings together. And you'll even text them a lot of times with me on it. This is David. He pre-approved them. And I'll text him, set up a phone call, go over my pre-approval process. That is worth its weight in gold compared to just some
Yeah.
random piece of paper with a lender that they've never heard of, with a loan officer
Right.
they've never heard of. And I know we have absolutely, our buyers have won. Their offer has been accepted because of the communication that we have. It absolutely
Definitely.
has. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And within that, if I can't get a hold of they send me a pre-approval, I can't get a hold of that lender, or it's some pool of a group that I don't have any reference to. It
Right.
is so difficult for me to have confidence writing that offer on their behalf because I don't know if they can get it closed in time. I don't know their work ethics. I don't know what they've really done on that pre-approval that they've seen in hand or they've vetted through. So all of it is so important. So when I've written offers and I bring my buyers through and they're pre-approved with you, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, I feel very confident we're going to be at the closing table and we're going to be done. And if we hit a hiccup,
figure
David
it
has
out.
enough knowledge. He is going to deep dive or he's going to be hearing from me like, David,
What are we doing here? Yeah.
what's happening? But so David, do you have any favorite client success stories? Maybe one that we've done that really stuck with you? Any that come to mind? I have some, but I just was curious if any of them you remember.
The first one, which is how you and I actually met, I think is a big success. A good friend of mine moved to the area. I pre-approved him, and rightfully so. Again, this is what we just talked about. I don't know who this person is. I'm not comfortable, with this. And my friend was like, "Look, he's who I'm using. You got to talk to him." We had that initial phone call, and I, you were not combative at all, but you wanted to make sure, like, hey, are we sure about this, right? But thankfully, the communication was great, the loan program was great, and because of a really smooth closing with a friend of mine that moved and used you, here we are. I don't know however many years, 7, 8 years later, have closed literally dozens of transactions together. So even though that's not that was not a difficult loan or anything like that. It was just it was a success because I think you and I have been able to build a strong relationship because.
Sure. Yeah, I remember telling you, David, okay, if you mess this up, I will never use you again.
Yeah.
And I knew that relationship with your friend. So I was like, okay, but
we're going to do it.
You better bring this to the table. And then since then, I've had just so many success stories that every time I've closed with you should be considered a success story. It is for those, but there's been some that were so extraordinary or seemed impossible. And you overcame, whether it was someone self-employed basically moving across country and being told by someone else we can't make this work on their dream home, or having one of our own clients under contract to buy a home and somebody's going to buy their home and that lender fails and they're calling you saying, can you save the deal? And you end up jumping in last minute and within just short amount of days successfully closing their buyer and then taking my seller and letting them now purchase. And you had to link several agents together to do that and say, hey, let me, give me your trust. I'm going to get you all to the table. And we did. Just countless times that we've been through there, or you called me up and said, hey, we have a little bit of an issue, but we're working on it.
Yes. All right. We got a problem, but we have a solution. This is what we're doing.
We've got a solution. And I can say that unequivocally, you have never let me down. We've always been to the closing table with every client. And that's an amazing success story to me. So I love that.
I think you did bring up the one, self-employed, moving across the country. Those are hard, right? Because your business is somewhere, right? It's generating revenue. You're doing great, and you're moving across country. How are we able to do that? And it was something that I've done before. Now, granted, if I hadn't done it before, I wouldn't have known. But what I love is I can get underwriting on the phone, talk through the scenario. their CPA wrote a letter saying this move will not impact the business. Going to be going back and forth between, state to state. He's able to, able to navigate, keep that business going, and we're good, right? But
Yeah.
but it's and not every lender will do that, right? I mean, if
No.
if the investors say we can do it, we can, but sometimes the lenders won't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's obviously, like you said, there's so many of them that we've been able to navigate through. But I mean, we have the one now where I'm helping your buyer, they're closing.
Yeah.
That seller is moving across the country and they're using the proceeds from that sale to buy their next home cash. And that seller was concerned because there's a home sale contingency.
Right.
If our closing doesn't go through, they can't buy that one. So I talked to the sellers who are now buyers. I talked to their agent, and then I talked to the seller's agent on that house. I have nothing to do with that transaction. It's not a loan I'm doing. But is it helping people? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, then I can take a 10-minute call to explain my buyer who's buying this house is solid and good, and all the conditions are cleared, right? So it's going above and beyond. And to me, that's not even going above and beyond. To me, that's doing our job. But I don't know. That's just how I operate.
Yeah, and it's not being afraid of hard work, because often if I'm talking, sometimes I'll have offers come in on my listings.
Yeah.
And so I interview the lenders of those offers, because when I present those offers to my buyers, I want to say, hey, I talked with the lender. This is the evidence that the buyer is going to be successful, and the lender has reassured me of this or that. And if I get a sense that lender has not done their homework, or they're hard to get a hold of, or they're just resistant to, hey, could we close this faster on behalf of my seller? And they're hedging a little bit because maybe it's going to take extra work. And I get any sense of that, it does put me on pause.
Like a red
and
flag,
I do have.
Wait a minute here. I'm only asking for like 5 days sooner. Like, is that...
Exactly. But sometimes that's what, that seller needs to know. Oh, this lender can get it closed in this amount of time, and a reasonable amount of time. But if one is, I don't know, I still like to have their set number of days, and they're just resistant to that process of hard work or flexibility, that does make a difference. It makes a difference when I'm presenting those offers to my sellers. So again, the lender is so key. I cannot emphasize it enough, not only to the buyers that are out there, to have and make sure you're with a good, reputable lender that's going to do the work and has been vetted, but then also for the sellers and agents, make sure that the lender, again, that you're working with or that you're bringing to that seller is also the same caliber and the same high level of ethics and works hard and problem solves, because you're going to need them. I tell them every time I get on a phone with a lender and I'm vetting them, I'm like, you're the deal breaker. In many cases, you're going to be the deal breaker, and you're either going to get us to the table successfully or not. And sometimes it's them needing to micromanage the process, because, and you and I both know, I will nudge my clients, hey, get the documents in. You'll tell the client, I need the documents in. And if we're all going to be fast, it is a process that we have to work through. So there's a lot of cooperation and hard work that needs to take place all the way around.
Yeah.
So David, one last question. If somebody's getting ready to start the mortgage process, what are the first steps that they should take?
Call me. I say it jokingly. I think the first step, if you want to start buying a home, is have that intro phone call with a trusted loan officer, with me, with someone that you trust. We're talking like no sales here, let's just sit down and have a conversation.
Right.
What are some of the questions you have? Maybe you don't have any because you don't even know what to ask. You might, hey, I want to buy a house. I'd love to buy a home. It's a dream of mine. I don't know the first thing that goes into it, because a lot of people don't. Again, it goes back to we don't educate well on that. Talk to someone who's in the industry, who knows what they're doing, who will educate you, who's not in it to get you pre-approved and get you into a home and get you closed in the next 30 days. I tell people it's never too early. Let's sit down and have a conversation. It might be a 10-minute call. We go over, where do you work? How much do you make? Do we have a credit score? Do we have any money for a down payment? And the answer to those questions might tell me you're not ready. You need to work on X, Y, and Z. It's going to take you 6 months to do that. So let's set up a phone call, and then in 6 months, let's go ahead and let's review X, Y, and Z. Where are we at? We're not where we need to be. Okay, it might take 3 months. It might take 6 months. Or it might be, hey, you're great. You're a great candidate. You would get qualified. Do you want to see how much we could get you pre-approved for? Do you want to get pre-approved? Mm-hmm. An application is completely free. We have to pull credit. We could do a soft credit pull as well to make sure that it doesn't necessarily take a hard hit on the credit. But that initial call, just make it. Make that call to just see where you're at, and then go from there. You can look online, you can do different things, but I just think having a phone call with someone who knows what they're doing, who's in the industry, is the best first step that you can make.
Yeah, definitely. So how can people contact and connect with you, David?
Honestly, best way is my cell phone. Text me or call me. Email is fine too, but
Can you share that? Can you share those numbers?
Yeah, absolutely. So my
information.
Yeah, my cell phone. It's 440-478-3435. And I use my cell. I don't even have an office line. I use my cell phone because, again, I'm on the go, and you need to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
My email.
And your email, yeah.
Yeah, it's david.gray, and Gray is Gray. So david.gray@ccm.com.
ccm.com. Great. So david.gray@ccm.com. This has been such a great conversation, David, and I know so much valuable information, especially for those who are looking to maybe get ready for the market as the rates may shift, or maybe just find confidence to jump in now.
Yeah.
And then for other agents out there who might be looking for a good lender resource. So this has been so helpful. I do appreciate, David, the success that you have brought to my clients and working with you. And hopefully it's been a good partnership on that side. But thanks so much for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. This has been a blast. It's been a lot of fun.
It's been great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for tuning in to Wise Move. I hope today's episode provided you with the tools and insights you need to confidently navigate your real estate, community, and life journey. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and please share this podcast with friends and family who are making their own moves. Stay connected for more real estate insights, and remember, every great move starts with a wise move.